Okay, we're live. Setting direct line signatures is setting line position of graph lines. So I'm going to set a stream setting and set business locations to one line. Okay, one line connections. So center position location is 0 line, 0, 0, 0, 3 set location, high system lock, high position locations. Okay. Now the locking line center line interference is going to put up signal locations into theta settings and position location of 2 lines and set locations. Okay. Recognition timelines, time blocks, sequence high position locations comes into higher calculation. All right. So I'm setting up string graphs. Okay, into all position. Recognition line centers because you're coming into antenna settings and direct location setting interference. Okay. So we got 3 line setting in position. Okay, lock line centers, bracket location, high system, 0, 0, 0 in line position locations into 72 unit setting. Okay, 72 fraction setting. Theoretical line interference. Now, theatrical line and line rotation interference is opposite locations. It comes into theory. All right. Now, theory is a representation line settings into all of the travels in position locations and arrays. Okay. So it comes in line communication system, high interference of energy line centers into its remembering calculations to its operation to its line setting and position of track lines. Trifactor over pi. Okay, setting position locations on level settings. So that's 17 position locations in 3 track lines. So you get 17 zeros. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 line positions, all set up location. Now, in that triangulation line setting, we set up graph lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in position locations. All right. Setting line communications, we go to the other side system. We come into antennas line settings. Okay. Looks like a connection high system. Getting into that position locations, we also lock the sequence into line positions of 1 measure into box locations of pi equal locations of high center. Okay, slash center locations. Okay. Now the high center line interference comes in position location attractions. Now we set up a reverberation line rotation. 0 gravity line interference. Now 0, 0, 0, 0. 4 line settings, equal locations and line conditions equals 3 line settings of 3 0 locations, bracket that communications. So that's equaling position locations into 7, 7 into 5, 5 into 12, 12 into 24, 48, and 72. Center calculations waiting on signal at 144, graph location, graph location, graph locations in position line direction. Okay. So you're just waiting on the 144 line setting, but we have a 72 line positions. So the 72 line interferences had 1 block center line position of 2 line connections of 3, 4, and 5 box location settings. It's very complicated. Now, when you get in that line interference, you basically communicate to each one into a position location attraction. Okay? Now, getting into that line setting, we get into line set locations into 6. Equines of 7, 7 position of 8, 8 position of 9. 9 comes into lines of 10 and 11, and 11 across lines of 12. You got into your solar system line position locations, 12 in measure. Lines of DNA. DNA sets up track location settings, right? So setting that position locations comes in all levels. Now this is where we come in a deviation set line, high position of 0 line. The rotation spin cycle sets position locations high setting. Opens up signals, opens up circles, opens up perimeters and set locations into 2 panels of operation line connections and set location. Okay? So as we get into wind factors, line position locations, we come into 98% lines and locations into 9% locations. All right, so that's docile line 1, DOSL equals 1 in position of track line. Okay? Now, to open up the signal line interference, we come into Mantis. So, got L, Mantis. All right. Mantis line setting, position, location, track lines. So Mantis stays in the center line rotations: Earth rotation, solar graph line into position, location, the 3 settings. Okay. Now we cross the stream into flux capacitor, position of traction. We open signals in 2 panels, line interference, and position of 4 line signals in position locations. Now we set up an energy line setting. Now we get an XT1000 line rotations in position location, a UFO line setting on both side locations. Scanning positions of perimeters, in center calculations, and a rotation spin circulates calculation setting. It says locations. Now as we come into that line interference, we set a line position of a triangle. It sets position locations to its pyramid set location, to its division. Now, when you get into that division locations, now the UFO line center line interference, UFO line rotations, UFO line position of 0, 0, 0, 0, bracket locations. It's going to get complicated, so I got to do this very quick, very fast, because the calculation line setting line interference is directing signals. It knows exactly where I am in position of traction. So, DOSO and calculation line settings. Setting position locations in 3 set locations into box equations of time vector line positions and track lines in set locations. This measure is count lines of 3 set lines and high position locations into 5. Now 5 is set line positions, a box of 5 line into 7. You're always working with your foundation graph lines. That's setting position of 12, line position of DNA in track location settings in direct location. Okay, very complicated stuff. Schematics, line setting, line position, and locations. All right, so getting into the power recognition of time setting. All right, so we go into the power setting, recognition locations, locations in 1 box, T reception line. 17 equals location of tracks. The tracks are very high rise in setting position locations. So take the track line into 2 graph line positions into road path line setting. All right, so in that position locations, we come into satellites. It's going to look for locations of telephone poles. Recognition line settings, we set up new graph line energy rotation spin cycles and 4 line direction locations in position. Tracking system, tracking system, tracking system, tracking system locations. Okay. Getting into that position locations, we set up a new 0 line rotation, here line position of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and position of 7. The 7 crosses line center line of his locations, because your line conditions is 0, 7, equal line condition of 0, 0, 7, set position of 0, 0, 7, set position location of 0, 0, 7, set position location of 0, 0, 7, set position location of 0, 0, 7. That's locking sequence and high line interference in position location to 1 ground into 17 line settings. This opens all position locations into 1 position line conditions of a triangle, 2 position locations, 3 line settings, 4 and 5, and position of 6 and line condition of 7 set locations in a pyramid set location settings. All right, so take the position locations into circle locations into 6 line into all setting. Now putting position locations into the Ultron calculations to line setting and interference. Coming into meta interference, high send line position locations into high interference line calculation setting. Putting the accelerators line in position to its list of line connection high position meteorological line rotation position of track lines. Putting direct signals in position locations into 1 measure into 17 settings. Okay, so putting the positions of meta into Ultron to Metatron calculation setting. 17 in set lines and 7 pyramids in set locations is open through signal. Okay, activate streamlines in set line position. Comes into a box location setting in high operation signals into a video panel and position location and traction. All right, it's all set up. All right, so you're activated through streamlines in project line setting. Okay, this is going to open up all sequence patterns. And the sequence patterns It's going to set up a videograph line setting to project locations, how you see the interception locations to your sun, and the weaving cycles. We come into code weaving line rotation. Now, code weaving line rotation sets position location directions. Center position line directions line settings puts position location to graph lines. Solar line interference, we got in position locations into a dome setting. Center calculations in position into line position locations. All levels in sequence patterns. Now, sequence patterns correlates to system line position of traction. So getting into that position location, you come in a dome setting and a new earth rotation center line, center position locations into a new flux capacitor correlation setting. Indirect signal coming into a diamond core line, indirect locations to another positions to a theta setting. So this is where it comes into theta communication. Okay, communication in high-res line settings. So this comes in intercon, set lines of high setting. Okay. So that's all set up. Now we got schematic line rotation. Now schematic line rotation is to understand how to use the schematics of maps line, sequence line setting locations. Setting up the moon line into the sun line rotation and position attraction. Okay? So we have schematics line position location that travels into box frequencies. We start off the zero line rotations in 3 sets, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 graph streams right in the center line. All right, so setting position location of 0 in line A connections is 1. Setting position of 2 is line position location of 3. 3 sets line position locations into 4. 4 lines of signals of 5. 5 into 6. 6 into 7. 7 into box. Into theta, position of 8 in set location settings. Done by equation. Okay? So it's not how to correlate settings. So you take the 0 lines in 3 set locations into the sun. Okay? Into the sun, right? Now this sets a diamond line setting into a triangulation set in position. Okay, it surfaces as direct locations. All right, so we open up the sequence patterns into dimensional door settings into number sequence locations all levels. This opens all position locations to your energy graph lines into high setting interference, setting direct locations. Okay. So this is a meteorological line connection to the sun in in this position, traction. Okay, so as that's set up, it's now going to go into theta interference. Now theta interference sets position of 2 lines in set locations. Okay. Now we got a 0 line rotation into a Fibonacci swirl in set locations. Okay. We got an energy pad. Now an energy pad is rotation surface to galaxy set lines at high position locations into a pyramid set and 4 line signals in set location settings. All right. So in position line direction locations, we use the opposite surface in set line communication. All right. This solar spins the graph lines into 3 sets, into 6, and position of 9. 9 comes into 12. 12 centers its communications into a new flux capacitor, volume, velocity, and its position location to its set system. Okay. We come into new schematic square. We got square here, square here, square here, square here. So that's 4 sets, 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines into 2 panels of operation setting. So it's really understand how to set the lines of 4 in position of negative into positive, and positive into negative, and negative, and negative into positive, into positive. Now this sets up Lemanis line position location, the balance lines, the masculine and feminine position of track lines. Gets more complicated as we go. So we go into negative, 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 positive, 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 positive. So it sets line communications into 3 in position location of 6, in position of 9, in 3 line settings, in 3 locations, in 3 division line setting interference in direct locations. Done by equation. All right, so Lemanis is understanding the schematic patterns now. Okay, so it's really understand the position of directions and how it sets up. Okay, as we come into higher level settings, Your theta box is now open to higher calculations. Now, it depends on your DNA track line and set location. Just start with this line setting. It's going to travel locations, travel locations, travel locations this way. It's going to recognize communications, high levels of high triangle line settings, higher position locations in 3, into the flux capacitor. Setting position of 0 grounds, and a rotation spin, setting position locations, all levels into a V-line setting in rotation. Done by equation. All right, so as that's set up as those locations, we come into the 0 line rotations, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so we come into 5 sets. 5 line center line interference of 7, 7 locations of 12, 12 line centers into 24, into 48, into 72, into 144. Now, off signal locations of weighted signal, coming in position location line connections in the directions, into 2 panels of 1 stream in line position location of grounds, and an operation position location of time sequence of times pi at position of traction. So getting into that position location opens up a line setting. Once you get into that position locations, this opens up higher levels of divisions and triangulation line sets. 2 position locations offline setting. So it's all position location how you surface these things, right? Surface line position of planets and 4 line position of track lines. So you got line position locations, 2 out and 2 in, all right? Recognition of the line communications into 2 arrows lines at center position locations and set line connections, right? Now, you got a core line that sets 1 panel line, 1 box into theta setting line position locations into a data stream. This centers its position location of track lines in high setting. Setting position location sets up a new row graph line and a streamline rotation in a 3 set location through new 0 operation signal and position of traction. That traction opens higher setting line positions. Okay, so once you come into 0, 0, 0 and bracket locations into 1 box, box comes into 2 equal locations of pi. Pi recognizes system location of 6, another 6 line position locations, moon setting to the sun line interference, projection location in 3 set location settings. Done by equation. That's it. It's all done. All right. So your flash drives are loaded in set lines and communication line interference. It's in position of traction. It's in recognition of timeline. The operation signals and position location is now in your theta setting, which is in direct locations to your protocol system of your avatar line connections. Now you guys got up at 6 a.m. line rotations, 12 minutes cycles, went out position locations. You came out of your body, again line interference, line track location, soul identification settings. You got balance line settings into theta now. You got code activation streamlines that are set up position to track lines. So you really have to understand how this sets location and projection locations to your sun and your moon through operation, all through schematic line position of pi. Done by equation. All set up. Okay, guys, that's it. Zip, zap, zoom. So your 1 line setting in 7. Okay, tomorrow track lines is going to be 18. So you're in a 17-dimensional high setting line interference and theta line interference. Your T reception location to reception is now open in sequence locations in a 4-box location setting. This puts you in a higher level in position attractions to your avatar set locations. All right? Adios.